Napa know-how.
A Napa guy knows the good thing about an old truck is you can treat it like an old truck, meaning however you want. Because the paint job looks best covered in mud. Dents build character, and unpaved roads are unscientifically proven to be 70% more fun. And with over 400,000 parts and a little Napa know-how, you can keep that thing running longer, stronger. Because it's not old, it's broken in. That's Napa know-how.
Napa know-how.
Blog Talk Radio.
You jack my nerves and you rattle my brain. Too much love drives a man insane. You broke my will, but what a thrill. Couldn't it rig a great ball of fire? I let the love out, I thought it was funny, but you came along and you moved me, honey. I changed my mind, love is fine. Couldn't it rig a great ball of fire? Kiss me, baby. It feels good. Oh, my baby, yeah. You gotta let me love you like a lover should. You're fine, so kind. I'm gonna tell this world that you're mine. I see my nails, I swivel my thumb. I'm getting nervous, honey, but it sure is fun. Come on, baby, you drive me crazy. Couldn't it reach a great ball of fire? Let me love you like a lover should. You're fine, so kind. I'm gonna tell this world that you're mine. I see my nails, Lord, I squeeze my thumb. I'm real nervous, but it sure is fun. Come on, baby, you're driving me crazy. Couldn't it reach a great ball of fire?
What a rock and roll start to tonight's show. It's blown the cobwebs off, I have to say. Woke me right up. I was snoozing there for a moment or two. But, so hi. A jolly good evening to everyone, to all our millions and millions of listeners. It's Thursday night yet again, show 14. Seems like it's been a lot longer in some respects, but, we're grinding on, we're getting there. It's Thursdays are coming and going. Soon be Halloween, which is exciting. Certainly in our house. But I think I should have Xtina on the other line somewhere. Xtina, are you there?
I am here.
Yes. Are you excited? Are you excited for Halloween? Are you excited? I mean, this house, obviously we're having the little one. She's been planning her costume since I think April. She's going to be a werewolf vampire apparently, which is pretty awesome.
Oh, cool. Yeah,
we do like it here.
Yeah, this whole time of year I actually adore. So I am excited. It's it's like 57 out today, and so I'm shivering, but I love this time of year. So I can't wait, and I love scary movies. So that's awesome too. And I have to watch the Halloween remakes every Halloween, so that's
the Rob Zombie versions,
yes, I love those.
And funnily enough, speaking of Rob Zombie, how's that for a segue? I sat and watched 31 last night. Have you seen it?
I don't even think I've heard of it.
The latest Rob Zombie. I have to admit, I was not a big fan of the Lords of Salem. I thought that was after the Halloweens, after Devil's Rejects, etc. I'm a big Rob Zombie movie fan. Lords of Salem, I was a little bit disappointed. It was just a bit convoluted and overlong for me. But 31 is a return to form for Mr. Zombie. So if he's listening, well done, Rob. It's good. It's gore. It's violence. It's got Malcolm McDowell in it. It's really there's nothing more you could want. It's got a sort of a vibe of the Purge, the second Purge movie. It's got a touch of that in it, but it's gratuitous violence and nudity and such. And it was a great hour and a half to spend all by myself nursing a beer and some samosas, which were nice, which was left over from my Indian meal. Yes?
I can just say that aside from the Halloween movies, I have not seen anything else, any other movie by him because I was always a little too scared to. They're just. I know this is so weird coming from me, but I don't know. They're so gruesome. Like even the Halloween movies, they just had me thinking, oh my goodness, when I walk away from this, I'm never going to be the same again. So I think I was always a little nervous about.
That's why I like
watching.
Rob Zombie's films, and he's very uncompromising. You need to see The House of a Thousand Corpses and The Devil's Rejects. And in fact, The Devil's Rejects was in part responsible for my novel that will be out in the new year, Flanagan.
Really?
I mean, again, I'm not going to no spoilers. We can discuss that near the time. But he portrays sort of violently and criminally insane people so incredibly well. But yeah, those are two films you really got to put on your Netflix list. You've got to watch those. So anywho.
Yeah.
Anywho, before we bring Israel Flynn on, what have you been up to, my dear?
Oh, getting ready, I guess, for the cover reveal that's coming up within a month, I would say, or something like that, for Light Musings. And it's weird because I'm in such a light mood right now, because I'm going through the poetry for the Light Musings. I had this urge today. I'm like, I have got to get back to my darkness here. I have to start listening to some kick-ass music and trying to get back into that frame because I've been so, I don't want to say rainbows and fluffy kittens or anything because that's not quite what I do.
Everybody likes fluffy kittens,
But at the same time, I needed to get back to my darkness, so I'm going to be trying to do that in the next couple of days, get back to writing some dark stuff. I need to.
Yeah, cool.
So
cool. I think it's nice to do something different for a while, but I think we all sort of revert back.
Yeah,
as you know, I've been working on a project that is away from horror, and I really cannot wait to get back to some real sinister people, some unpleasant goings on. I think it's a strange sort of strange life we lead as writers, I believe. It's we just
I need to kill something in my writing.
Yeah, we do that. We deal with death and destruction and pleasantness, 24/7 because we even dream it, and we just make stuff up for a living, a little bit like Donald Trump. To be honest, a little bit of politics there for you, everyone. I have to say, I'd keep away from religion and politics on the air, but what an absolute, total and utter cockwomble. And that is actually a real word, folks. I watched the debate and the guy, he lies about his lies. And my favourite was his contradiction of, and it's on record, it's there, you can Google it, when he said that Hillary Clinton did not have a presidential look. And he lied. He did on air in front of millions of people. He lied. I didn't say that. It's what I call. Again, you remember Robert Mugabe? He's, I think, clinging to life in Zimbabwe, and it's what I call the Mugabe defense. When the first free election they had in Zimbabwe, and he lost, and it was, you've lost the election, Mr. Mugabe. No, I've not. No, you lost. You've got to leave power. No, I haven't. So Donald Trump was invoking the Mugabe defense in so much as you said this, and here is the proof, recorded, we can Google it. No, I didn't. What I said was this. Well, no. So, he just, for me, it was a brilliant hour and a half of.
He really is.
Brilliant hour and a half of comedy, and it would, had it been a comedy show, a parody show, it would have been brilliant. But the thought that guy could potentially become president of this great, great country, and I can't vote. I'm not, a citizen here. I am legal. I've got my paperwork to prove it. It terrifies me. It is scary, scary, scary. But anywho, just to balance things out, Hillary Clinton looks, she's the lesser of two evils, but she's not pure by any means. So having said that, and I'll just bring on our first guest, who's Israel Finn, who's going to be chatting to us about his awesome book of short stories, 10 Dark and Twisted Tales, called Deadfall Lane. So hopefully I've not frightened him off with my my political rant. Israel, are you there, sir?
Yes, sir. I'm right here.
You are. I will apologise if I offended you. If you're a big Donald Trump fan, I'm really sorry. I'm just saying as like I see. You know?
I'd like to think I'm a little smarter than that, but and I hope I didn't offend anybody.
No, not on this show.
Right.
No.
Right.
Yeah, I watched the debate too. My wife and I watched the debate, and I mean, we don't have cable, but you know, everything we watch we stream, and luckily we found it on Free Speech TV, and so yeah, it was like you said, it was quite a comedy show.
It was entertaining. I mean, normally they just started doing them in England for the the first time was for the election in 2010, just before I moved out here, actually. And, you know, they were just dull. It was all scripted and just, they all knew each other's questions and answers. And I mean, it was all.
Oh, yeah. It's like, I mean, it feels like we're living in the beginning of 1984 or something, you know.
But Trump is such a wild card. He's just shooting from the hip, which it makes it thoroughly entertaining.
Oh yeah.
The thought of that guy with his finger on the nuclear button just sends a shiver through my spine, I have to say.
Oh yeah, I mean it's like that cartoon I saw recently where they said a wife leans in the door, her husband's a writer, and she said he's a science fiction writer, a dystopian writer, and she's like, you know, you might want to know that the GOP is stealing your ideas right now. So
yeah.
I mean, it kind of feels that way sometimes. It's like, is this actually happening? Are they really saying these things?
Yes.
And you know, it's like they say. I mean, you tell a lie so many times, and it starts becoming the truth.
Yes. Yeah. That, and it's when you start believing your own lies, you know, that is dangerous territory, you know, and they're just.
Well, yeah, that's psychopathic territory right there.
Yeah, but I mean, I guess, I mean, there's a lesser of two evils. I mean, Hillary is, you know, and I have no affiliations either way, party-wise, you know, but Hillary is, I mean, she's been around the block. She's a seasoned politician. She's been Secretary of State. I mean, out of the two of them, she's surely got to be certainly the most stable of the two.
Well, yeah, absolutely. I mean, she does have more. I mean, she's more qualified.
Yeah, that's my thought, Sam.
But you know, like I say, usually, I mean, I'm not a fan of either one, but you know, I'm not voting for Hillary. I'm voting against Trump. So
yes, yeah.
I mean, that's about as
yes.
That's about as involved as I can be in it at this point.
Yes, yeah. I think it's going to boil down to that, and hopefully it'll go that way rather than people voting for Trump because they don't like Hillary. You know, because that would be the wrong way to go, I think. In my opinion,
right?
And obviously, my opinion is in no way anybody else's. But so anyway, to literature, Israel. Your book, your short stories, 10 Dark and Twisted Tales. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, it's 10 tales of horror. I've been told that I touch a lot on moral issues, and which, you know, really was not my intention. I guess I just kind of unconsciously did it. Stuff like that just sneaks into your work. I mean, I'm sure that's the way it is for pretty much every writer. But there's a lot of moral and social commentary mixed into the stories. But mostly, I would like to think that they're just good stories. You know, I love to tell stories, and the darker the better. I like to. I was listening to you guys earlier. I could have listened to you all night there, talking about, you know, getting back into the darkness. You feel like, you know, you've drifted away from the darkness, and I feel that way too. And you know, I've said this before. I've blogged about it before. That you know, the people that don't understand. I've got a few friends that I absolutely cannot stand horror. I just, you know, my nerves can't handle that kind of stuff or whatever. And it's like, you know, to me, it's like, well, you're missing out, you know, because there's a lot of great stories in horror. And in my opinion, horror is the best genre out there because it has all the elements of everything else.
Yeah, I absolutely love to be scared. And I do get scared. I get terrified when watching a scary movie or reading something scary. But at the same time, I love the adrenaline rush. I really do. So, I mean, the whole time I'm going, oh, my God, I'm terrified, but I love the feeling. So.
Oh, my God, yes, absolutely.
Well, I mean, it's just, I mean, people ride roller coasters for exactly the same reason. You know, you get that thrill within, I guess, a safety. Although there's been quite a few roller coaster crashes in England this past year or so, but on the whole they're safe. You know, so you just get. I guess it's that, you know, the thrill seeking. You know, you get that chill down your spine watching a scary movie, and if you're lucky, it stays with you. You get, you know, you dream about it, it stays with you if it's a good one, and. You know, I guess, you know, some people don't like that, but I think a lot of people, horror is so incredibly popular. You know, it's
well, yeah. I mean, it's the being afraid, but knowing that you're safe at the same time. Which really, if you ride a roller coaster, that's not necessarily the case.
Right.
No, these days, no. I mean, again, it's probably years and years ago. My wife took me skydiving for my something birthday, and you know that was brilliant. I mean, you know, again for a thrill, you know, the adrenaline rush was just phenomenal because. You know, you're there looking at the door of the airplane, looking down sort of 15,000 feet. You're on top of the clouds. Thinking, if something went wrong, yes, I could die here. You know, but it's just that. And it's funny enough, since then, it's spoiled roller coasters for me. The roller coasters just don't do it for me anymore. So.
Wow.
Yeah, I guess after that.
You'd have to push me out, so I couldn't have jumped. You'd have to push me.
It was. I would say, you know, do it. You know, it's one of those things. It's a bucket list thing, you know. That I think my wife now would probably do it, and you know, without the parachute. But
oh my gosh.
No, only joking. Only joking. I hope I'm only joking.
Right now, you know, I like those the attractions like the Halloween Horror Nights. When I lived in Florida, I used to go to the Halloween Horror Nights every year or so, and man, me and a friend went, and she was this badass chick, and, you know, she always acted really tough and everything. And we get there, and there are these people that are chasing us around with chainsaws. Like, you know, it sounded like a real chainsaw. They were scary, and, you know, they can't touch you or anything, but they can follow you. They can scare you and everything. And she was terrified. We had to spend the rest of the night walking in the no scare zone. So I'm like, are you kidding me? That's not what I came here for. I want to be scared.
Yeah.
I would have wanted to be one of the chainsaw wielders.
Yeah, there you go. Well, again, I don't know if I mentioned the Rob Zombie film Israel at 31. Have you seen that yet?
No, I haven't. You know, I've heard a lot of mixed reviews, so I really don't know. You know, I mean, it seems like either people love it or they hate it.
I would, if you're a Rob Zombie fan.
It doesn't seem to be a gray area.
I mean, if you enjoyed, you know, Devil's Rejects, House for a Thousand Corpses, you will like it. You will enjoy it. But it's funny. So I mentioned it earlier, and it has very much a feel of one of the horror houses. You know, there is actually a couple of guys running around with chainsaws, funny enough. You know, so you know, it's
I probably
very
will
intense.
See it. I'll see it and make up my own mind. You know.
Yeah, no, I would recommend it. It's certainly worth spending an evening with a couple of beers and and a takeout.
Absolutely.
I just like takeout food, to be honest. So
Who doesn't? Who doesn't? Yeah.
well, yeah, that's true. What's not to like? You know, it's food, and they cook it and bring it. I like that.
Right. You don't have to cook it.
And you eat out of the carton. It's, you know, when my wife's away, me and the kids just sort of revert to takeout. No washing up, apart from a few forks.
Oh my God! If it wasn't for my
no
wife,
cooking.
I'd constantly eat over the sink, and
oh
it wouldn't be a pretty picture. Let's just say that.
Yeah. Well, my wife's been working away a lot, and I'm doing my best not to go feral, me and the kids, you know. And
there you go.
Weekends, my little girl she just wears the same pair of pajamas all weekend, and that's it.
See, that's what I'd be doing.
No,
I'd be like,
and
well,
me too.
You know, they're not that stiff yet. I can keep them on another couple of days.
Oh my God.
I think until they need to
do.
They need to be surgically removed. You just leave them on there, you know.
I've got more important things to do than.
Yeah, but I've got to the point where I just don't hang my clothes up anymore. I just operate from a large pile in the corner of the closet. Whatever's on top, that's what I'm wearing today, you know.
Well, yeah, I mean, almost all of my T-shirts are black, and my wife talks about that. She's like, I wish you would wear something else besides black, but it's like, well, you know, I don't have to think about what I grab out of the closet, you know, or out of the drawer. Plus, it's all the same.
Plus, you don't have to change it when you get food down it either. You just, it just blends in. That blends in. You can't see that sauce. That's blended right.
Exactly.
Yeah.
See, there's a method to the madness.
Yeah, but what I've started doing, I mean, to keep the kids from getting bored, you know, like in zoos where they hide the animals' food around for them to forage. I've started doing that, hiding their food around the house so they have to go find it, because otherwise they'd never come out of their room. My older, I mean, he's 14. He only comes out actually to forage for food. It's the only time I see it. I know he's all right because, like, you know, the Doritos have gone.
Right, typical teenager.
Oh. Yeah, well, he's up there. He's got everything he needs up there. You know, he's even got a fridge in his room. You know, he's got his PlayStation, which is the centre of his world, and his computer, and everything's up there. And so, apart from if he didn't need to eat or go to the toilet, I'd never see him, to be honest. So, Israel,
oh my goodness.
Could you have a reading for us? Yeah, I'm looking forward to this. Could you do that?
I could.
Sorry, I put you on the spot.
I hate the sound of my own voice, but I was thinking about doing what Greg Gaffune did the other night and have you read it, but I'll be happy to do it actually.
Oh, thank you. So, I appreciate that. Nobody wants to hear me droning on for another 10 minutes.
I thought you did a good job the other night.
Oh, but thank you.
Right,
you go for it.
You want me to go ahead and read this?
Yeah, go on.
Okay. This is an excerpt from my book, Dreaming at the Top of My Lungs, and this is the first story. Which, by the way, this story I offer as a free giveaway to people who sign up at my blog on at israelfin.com. So this is the beginning of Deadfall Lane. No one else saw what happened that night between me and my wife out behind the shed under a full white moon. No one heard anything either. Old Harlan Davis lives within shouting distance, but he's deaf as a post and about half blind to boot. Besides, he's crazy as a loon. Bill Pritchard says he was driving by Harlan's house one day and saw him sitting on his porch eating night crawlers out of a coffee can, which I don't doubt for a minute. That leaves our other neighbors, all of whom are pretty remote, and a good 3-mile empty stretch of road that runs between the little town of Owensville, Indiana, and our place. The locals call that stretch Deadfall Lane, unofficially renamed from Cutter's Lane after the big storm in 2005 wiped out much of the woods running along it. The place I'm speaking of is a 12-acre parcel of land that's been in my family for 3 generations, 4 if you count my 3-year-old son, Chris. I've never worked the land, don't have the knack or the inclination, but for the last few years, I've leased it to Milo Harper, a local farmer, so we've always got by all right. Beyond our back door and catty corner to the house is a hutch where I raise rabbits for meat. Overlooking the rabbitry is a gigantic sycamore. The great tree shrouds the outbuilding in its enormous shadow every late afternoon when the sun drops toward the western woods, or at least it did before things went bad. I spent a lot of time in that tree as a kid playing Tarzan or Robinson Crusoe or whatever. I've always imagined my own son doing the same, but that won't happen now because everything changed when the tree started dying. And that's all.
Wow, no, awesome.
That's all. Keep
Awesome.
going.
No, we want more of that. I was just, could you extend the show by a few hours, read all of it. That was certainly very evocative of early Stephen King, the sort of the building the picture and sort of just slipping in little hints of things to come and things that have gone. And I really enjoyed that.
Thank
you.
Really,
really good.
I take that as a compliment. Absolutely.
That was really, really good. So, where is that? That's obviously available now, yeah?
Yeah, it is available. It's
where would we find
that? The book, Dreaming at the Top of My Lungs on Amazon. Israel Finn on Amazon. So
okay,
you can get it in. It's available in paperback, digital, and audiobook actually. So
awesome.
You can get it in all three formats.
Yeah, is it you reading on the audiobook? Because I would buy it for that.
No, God, no. I don't think anybody could stand hearing me drone on for hours. But no, the producer I found through ACX through Audible. His name is Steve White. Very talented. It's his Twitter handle is Steve White Voice. And if there are anybody out there who, any other writers who are looking to have an audio book done, Steve White, you could do a lot worse than him. I guarantee it. He's a very talented guy.
Oh, awesome! Yeah. So something that I think it's a growing corner of the industry. So it's something I've been toying with for a couple of my books. So
from what I've heard, it's still kind of cutting edge. I mean, there's a ton of people that still haven't got into it yet. So, and I got into it kind of by accident because of Ian Robb Wright mentioned it, and I respect him immensely, and so it was kind of his idea. And so I decided to do it, and I'm happy I did.
Awesome. No, it's good. Yeah.
I want to thank you so much, Israel, for coming on the show, and you are a fantastic guest. Will you come back again?
Oh, sure. I'd love to. Thank you.
I think you should have him on. Have him on instead of that horrible Yorkshire fella. Actually, I think Israel would do a far better job. So.
I don't know. But James and Xtina, thank you so much for having me on. I really had a good time.
No, thank you.
Thank you.
Please, Xtina will hound you. We'll have you on again. That would be wonderful. I'd love that. We'll give you a whole show just for you next time. I promise.
I don't know if you want to do that, but I appreciate the invitation.
Okay, thank you so much for joining us.
Okay,
thank you, Israel.
Okay.
Bye.
Hello. What a great guy. I could have listened to that reading all night. That was really, really good. Enjoyed that. My Kindle is getting full with because I'm gonna have that. And there's only so many hours a day to sit and read stuff. I need to spend more time on the toilet because that's where I do a lot of my reading. It's the only room in the house I can get some. And even then, you can guarantee you've been sat there 2 minutes and Dad, oh for fuck, really? Can you just let Daddy have a bit of time in the toilet? So our next guest is S.E. Rise, but before we bring him on, I think we're going to have a bit of a musical interlude, so I can actually go to the toilet. Oddly enough.
Oh my God.
So too much information, I know, but hey, it's one of those things. We all do it. except Kim Jong Il apparently doesn't go to the toilet, but looking at the size of the fella, I can actually believe that. So I'm in a political mood tonight. I see how many people I'm going to offend in an hour. It's and believe me, it's probably a lot actually. So I'm going to play a bit of a tune, have a restroom break, and we will be right back.
You can dance every dance with the guy who gives you the eye. Let him hold you tight. You can smile, every smile for the man who held your hand neath the pale moonlight. But don't forget who's taking you home and in whose arms you're gonna be. So darling, say the last dance for me. Oh, I know that the music's fine like sparkling wine. Go and have your fun. Laugh and sing, but while we're apart, don't give your heart to anyone. But don't forget who's taking you home and in whose arms you're gonna be. So darling, say the last dance for me. Baby, don't you know I love you so? Can't you feel it when we touch? I will never, never let you go. I love you oh so much. You can dance, go and carry on till the night is gone and it's time to go. If he asks, if you're all alone, can he take you home? You must tell him no. 'Cause don't forget who's taking you home and in whose arms you're gonna be. So darling, say the last dance for me. Cause don't forget who's taking you home and in whose arms you're gonna be. So darling, say the last dance for me. Say the last dance for me. Say the last dance for me.
The jolly little tune there. Hope you enjoyed that. Are you still there, Xtina?
I am. That was a great song. I loved it.
Good. I love the Drifters. They're some great tunes, and it's another one of those songs it's the tune's jolly. It sounds like a jolly little upbeat song, but when you listen to the lyrics, it isn't. Yeah. it's sort of it's a little bit grim, really. The guy's out with his girl and she's off cavorting with all sorts of other guys, and he's desperately saying, well, don't forget you'll be coming home with me, which is a bit pathetic.
Oh, that is sad. Yeah, that is. I don't think
pathetic.
I don't think I realized that, no.
When you boil it down. And in fact, I'll dig it out. One of the saddest ones is, I mean, you heard it was, I got a version from Bobby Darin, which was Take Good Care of My Baby. It could have been Dion, actually. And you get a copy, listen to it, listen to the lyrics, and I'll try and find it for next week. And it is one of the most depressing songs.
More depressing than the one I had you. More depressing than what I asked you to play a couple of weeks ago.
Oh, well, you said that was depressing. That was depressing. Yeah. It was called, Fuck Off and Die or something. But it was just. But it's the ones that it's a happy tune. And while we're chatting, I'll try and find it actually, because it and again the overall theme of the song is, they get the guys, he's cheated on his girl, she's left him, she was with somebody else, and he's saying to the other guy, well, look after her, but if you find that you don't want her, I'm happy to have sloppy seconds. Well, not a good message to send out to the young people, I don't think, but. So I'm just, who else who have I not offended? Yes.
I know. I never know what you're going to say. I have tears in my eyes right now, and I'm fanning myself because if I take my glasses off, then I can't see what's going on. So, I'm trying to see here, and I have tears in my eyes.
This is a radio show. You really don't need to see what's going on, to be honest.
I do.
So hey, I read it. We have the fantastic SE Rise on coming up next. I was just reading the tagline for the Dead Cat Paradox, which is one hell of a title in itself. If The Shining and the Butterfly Effect had a baby, it would be the Dead Cat Paradox by SE Rise. That is fantastic. Whoever wrote that tagline is a genius. It just hooks you. I just want to read this because of that tagline. It's just brilliant.
Right, me too.
Being a big fan of The Shining and the Butterfly Effect, but not the sequels. The sequels were sequels.
I never even saw any of the sequels, but the first Butterfly Effect.
Yeah,
I loved that movie. I did.
I think I saw half of the first sequel, and I'm not. No, it was terrible. But hopefully AT&T willing, we have SE Rise on the line. Are you there, sir?
I am. How are you doing?
I'm very good. How are you?
I am well and good. I'm sitting in my truck right now. It's like the only place that I can get any quiet, but that's okay.
I know how that is. Yeah, I do.
That's like the bathroom in my house. I was just saying, it's the one refuge I have from the kids and the dogs and
yeah,
everything else.
I thought about doing that too, but I was like, no.
So how are you, sir? How are you doing?
Well, tonight I am doing well and good. I live in Anchorage, Alaska, and I have a pretty good view of the sunset.
Wow. Mm-hmm.
It's starting to get a little chilly now, but that's all right. It's going to get cold anyway, so.
I've always wanted to go to Alaska. I have fantasies about Alaska. I don't know why. It's cold, and I'm always cold, so that's weird.
Well, I will recommend if you do to come during the summer, because that's when we have 24 hours of sunlight in Alaska.
Oh no,
during the summer, but during the winter,
it's dark though.
It's up. No, dark is cold. It is cold in the dark here.
Yeah, but light. You have the vampire effect. I go outside and it's like, bright light, So I'd rather be in the dark. Yeah.
Yeah.
So how cold is it?
You're just freaky though, aren't you, Xtina?
Yeah.
You're just a scary, scary person. So what is it you do up there? So you're there for work. What sort of line of work you're in?
Well, I recently retired from the fire department. I did 20 years on the back of an ALS ambulance as a captain.
Awesome.
And yes, it was 20 years of quite a good ride. And I retired this summer and took the summer off to do. I went fishing every day actually this summer. I caught more salmon than I could possibly imagine eating. Yeah.
Nothing wrong with that.
And right now I'm just kind of enjoying retirement a little bit and trying to figure out what next to write. Whether I'm going to go for the erotic thriller or the some horror thriller stuff. That's about what I'm doing right now.
What are you edging towards at the moment, the erotic or the horror?
Well, I think it's kind of. I'm a little bit torn. Because I went bestseller with the erotic stuff, but there's a horror story in me that needs to come out. It does, and I think that I might have to end up going towards the horror for a little bit.
Right. Cool. So I think it's one of those. I mean, I suppose neither horror nor erotic are good to sort of have stewing in your brain. But I think of the two, I think horror is probably the one you don't really want spinning around in there too long.
Right.
Exactly.
I find if it's in there cooking for too long, weird things start happening in your head.
Exactly.
Scary things.
And with me, when I write the stories, they play like movies in my head. So it's constantly going on in the background, figuring out plots, figuring out what's going to happen next, stuff like that.
Yeah.
So, I have a bit of a Yeah, I have some issues, segmented mind stuff,
Yeah, I think that's a writer thing. I think if we didn't have the issues, we probably wouldn't be able to do what we do.
Absolutely.
A lot of the time, unless I'm just speaking for me, a lot of the time it's like therapy. A, you're getting the stuff out of your head, but B, you're dealing with a lot of things, literally demons, I think, in some cases. So, yeah.
That's the weird thing. When I write my poetry, that's how it is. It's like I'm getting stuff out, I'm purging it, so to speak. But when it comes to any other kind of writing, I sometimes I look back and I read it, and I'm like, that isn't in my head. That I don't know anything about that. That is, so it's kind of freaky because I do wonder sometimes where the ideas come from.
Yeah, I mean, it's a random thing. I mean, sometimes, again, obviously speaking as a writer amongst writers, there'll be times when I say it and think, well, okay, I know what this bit's going to be, but then there's something's got to happen between there, and there's nothing there, but it's having that confidence of knowing that by the time I get to the end of this bit, that bit where there's a space will fill in. And your brain will, once you've sort of plugged in and got the creative part of your brain churning out, it's sort of, again, it's a cliche, and people say it writes itself, but it just sort of generates itself. But you've got whole conversations appear and situations and a character part, and it's just, sometimes you sit back and you sit back and you read back what you've written that day when you've had a day like that. Where did that come from?
Yeah.
I don't remember ever thinking that. I hadn't planned it, but it's just there,
Yeah.
Exactly.
Definitely.
You create the events, and then you have to fill in the middle, and that's where the journey is. That's where the story is actually, is connecting those two or three, four, whatever events. And it's amazing how things just fall into place sometimes. And then if they don't, you're like, oh God, I'm in a bad way. But they eventually work themselves out. How am I going to get them from here to here?
Yeah. It took me a lot of years because I would get to that point and I would stop, and then my brain would just, I need to do something. I'll do something else while I work that out. And of course, you end up with a whole pack of stuff that's half finished instead of having that confidence. Okay, I'm not going to do it because if I'm doing something else, I'll never finish that. I need to finish that. I read a great book, again, any budding or newbie writers listening, a great book called The Comedy Bible by a lady called Judy Carter. I actually bought it when I was doing a lot of stand-up comedy, and the biggest or the best idea I took from that was what she calls the burn draft. Whereas you start with the first word and you don't stop, you don't look back, you don't edit, you don't do anything until you've got to the end, until you've literally typed the end. And she calls it a burn draft because you could actually just throw that away and start again. But that's, for me, once you've got that, that's sort of your bones, that's your structure. And even if you go through and then change every word, you've done it, you've got it all out, and you've bridged those gaps, you filled in the bits, and then you go in and you work on that. So it's teaching myself that if I sit down and work at it, it will come.
Yeah,
exactly, because you can't go back and edit something that isn't written already.
Absolutely, precisely, yes. And if you just went back, I was speaking to a guy a while ago who just started writing. He said, he'd write for a day, and then the next day he'd go through what he'd written the day before and then write a bit. And he was getting, he'd got 30 pages that were incredibly well polished, but he would never finish. He would never ever finish because the law of diminishing returns. You just can't. By the time you've edited, your day's over, or write three lines, because he was going back, and I'm sure the 30 pages were brilliant, but no publisher's going to buy 30 pages of a 300-page novel.
No. Yeah, I don't edit until the very end. I can't, because you just sit there and tear it all apart, and it's like, oh my God, and it'll never get finished. Yeah, sounds like we're all literally, I guess, on the same page. So
The Shining and the butterfly effect, having a baby, that intrigued me from the off. Where did this idea come from, sir?
Well, like I said, like you said, I'm a big fan of The Shining, and I am a big fan of the butterfly effect. This is an alternate reality horror book. This is that book that you sit there and wonder, like, what if I had made a different decision? What if I had done this? What if I had done this? And what happens is Michael is struck by lightning. He has a wonderful life. His wife is named Isabel, and he's a firefighter. He's in captain of the fire department, and he's struck by lightning. And he wakes up, and he has his first time he wakes up. He has a long beard. He smells like booze. He's filthy. And he's homeless. He's a vagrant, and he's a bum. And he can't. It's like, what the hell is going on? He's trying to figure out what's going on. And then he slipped over basically into alternate reality, where when he was younger, he starts getting these images back, these memories back. When he was younger, he snuck some booze from his parents, and when he first took a drink of it, he spit it out and threw up, and his dad came in and smacked his ass and spanked his ass. That's how it happened in his life. But in this new alternate reality, he took a drink, and then he took another drink, and as his life starts playing out, he sees how it became such a disaster. And he ends up, he was struck by lightning also, but he goes into cardiac arrest, and they shock him. He steps over into another alternate reality based on his decisions that he made in his life. It all has to go back to the Schrodinger's cat, the cat in the box.
Yep.
There's a cat in the box. You don't know if it's dead or alive until you open the box. And they say that that both realities in alternate universes can exist until one is proven wrong or proven false.
Mm-hmm.
But what happens if you don't prove it false? They keep on going.
Oh, wow.
And it's terrible for this guy, poor Michael. He goes from one alternate reality to the next to the next.
Oh.
And he gets to the point where he's like throwing himself on power lines and stuff, like, just to escape the reality that he is in.
Oh, wow.
To get back to where he wants to come from.
That sounds really interesting. I'm anxious to hear more. Do you have a reading for us?
I'm sorry, what was that?
Do you have a reading for us? Yeah.
I do have a reading for you guys.
Let's
see here. Let me see. Okay, so I'm on page 23 and the Dead Cat Paradox, and I'll read a couple chapters to you all. That's okay. All right. I see my 16-year-old self look away from the gorgeous blonde with the beautiful blue eyes as she takes Chuck's hand in hers and leads my friend away. This version of me doesn't try out for the football team. He doesn't see Chuck and her much anymore either. The rest of my memories cascade into place as my life takes form, and I want to cry. I don't want to see them. I don't want to know who I am. I don't want to be this version of me. What in God's name is happening to me? I am Michael. I am a captain in the fire department. I am 29 years old. I have a wife. Her name is Isabel. I see her blue eyes and blonde hair as it flashes in the sun. I open my eyes and a pain screams inside my head. It blinds me. I just squint my eyes against the light and I realize I am walking. The last of my memories slam into place and I can see the face of the man on the gurney. I grab tighter to the man's hand. I can feel the strength draining from him and I yell at Philip to keep his eyes open. Stay with me, Philip. Keep your eyes open. Don't go to sleep. Except Philip only has one eye. The other is gone. Part of his head is gone too, and I try not to look at it. My friend is dying, and I can't do anything about it. I am angry. I am hurt. I feel the crushing pain of loss struggling to rip my throat out. Come on, man. Don't you dare fucking die on me. I feel something tear inside me. The red wetness on the abdomen of my shirt can't be seen through my bunker coat. I can feel the sloshing in my bunker boots because they are filling up with blood. I grab Philip's hand tighter, and I am jostled by others as they take my best friend away from me. My best friend, the man I have known since 8th grade, the one I have gone through the fire academy with, the man I carried down 6 flights of stairs after the explosion. I lost track of the time during the extrication, but I knew a lot of time had passed. Through the concrete, the rubble, and the chaos, I had carried my friend out of that damn building. In fact, I'd be damned if they were going to take him somewhere to die without me. I turn and feel the tearing inside me again, and with it comes a new gush of blood. It's warm as it slides down my thigh. I will have to take my bunker pants off and dump out the blood if I'm going to go anywhere. They're just too damn heavy. I fall forward and see the floor as it comes up to meet my face. Someone screams to my right. It might have been Isabel. The memory of the slice have found their place inside my mind. It's becoming harder to remember. I am Michael. I am a captain of the fire department. I am 29 years old. I have a wife. Her name is the bluish white of lightning strikes, slithers across the insides of my eyelids. Beep. Chapter 4. Beep. 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 There's nearly a second between each beep of the monitor, and I can hear the length between them shorten as I come fully awake. I open my eyes, and the white of the ceiling is somehow comforting. At the edges of my peripheral vision, I can see the slithering blue white worms as they begin to creep. Not again, please, not again. I blink them away as her brown eyes come into my line of sight. Her hands come up and wipe the tears from them. She smiles, and I try to smile back, but my mouth is too dry, and my throat feels like it's made out of sandpaper. Water, please, I whisper. The woman reaches across me to the tray, and I can feel the slipperiness of her blouse as her breasts slide across my chest. I feel a moment of pain and discomfort, and then it is forgotten as she brings the edge of the styrofoam cup to my lips. I try to raise myself up to meet her, but I have no strength in me. I abandon the effort and try not to choke or cough on the water as it slides across the dry, cracked valleys of my tongue. At that moment, though, the tepid water is the most divine thing that has ever existed. The sun comes in through the window, and I can see the auburn highlights in her dark hair. Only I don't remember them. I don't remember her having highlights. I don't remember this woman. But somehow I do. This is your wife. No, it's not. Maybe it's just the way the sun is shining on her. It's not even the same woman. Did she get her hair done while I was lying in the hospital? No, that doesn't sound right. I am Michael. I'm a captain of the fire department. I'm 29 years old. I have a wife. Her name is Isabel. I see her blue eyes and her blonde hair as it flashes in the sun. My wife's name is Isabel. I begin to say her name. It slithers forth and hangs on the very tip of my tongue. I bite down on the end of it, keep the word from getting away. The pain brings a little more clarity. The room isn't as fuzzy and ethereal as it was. No, it's not. Your wife's name is Amanda. In this place and time, your wife's name is Amanda, but it's not. Don't you dare say Isabel. I keep myself from saying the word, even though it's hard not to. The drugs they have me on dull my mind, and I have a hard time focusing and remaining conscious. Something about the highlights in her hair, though, it's bothering me. She didn't have highlights before, did she? Hell if I know. This is the first time I've seen... Wait a second. She does look familiar. Maybe that's because the last time we saw her hair was wet and she was face down in the water. Maybe fading out. I am too tired. Chapter 5. The bluish white on the inside of my eyes awakens me. The shadows are different in the room. It's morning. I can turn my head now, and I relish in the pain of muscle stiffness it prompts in me. Well, I'm not paralyzed, so that's good, I guess. I can feel my arms and torso. My abdomen is still too tender to provide much assistance. I can feel my legs, and I move my toes to prove that they are still attached. I test my right arm, and though it is slow, it still responds like it's supposed to. The left one causes me pain, and after making sure my fingers are all there, I leave it where it is most comfortable. I am Michael. I am a captain of the fire department. I'm 29 years old. I have a wife. Her name is Amanda. My wife's name is Isabel. Her name is Amanda. I see the blue of her eyes and the blonde of her hair. That is Isabel. I hear the rustling of someone moving nearby, but the bed is positioned at the wrong angle for me to see who it is. I still my breathing to better hear. There's movement at the end of the bed, and then I see Philip standing before it. Philip is dead. His ragged eye sockets flash with the bluish-white worms of lightning. It begins to spread across his face, and then the open cavity where a good portion of his head used to be. Philip brings his hands up and sets it lightly against the back of the little girl's head. Your daughter? I don't have a daughter. You do now. There's a stillness to her face that is somehow unnatural. Well, she looks dead, huh? As the dead man slowly slides his hand down the back of her hair, the worms of bluish-white slither and crawl across the top of her head. They slither forward and then down her face and up once more to her eyes. I pull my eyes away from the dark-haired little girl, your daughter, and back to my dead friend. I can hear the increase in my heartbeat as the beeping on the monitor becomes louder and faster. Go away, Philip. You aren't real. None of this is real. Oh, it's real, all right. The ghastly apparition of my dead friend opens his mouth to respond, and the wailing cry of a baby lamb spills out. Stop! I won't. You don't belong here. This is a nightmare. Not even close. I turn to the girl. The slithering bluish-white worms slide into the girl's mouth, down her throat. Now I can see them moving just under the edges of her skin. Daddy, are you awake? She says, but it's the rabbit that's asking the question. The brown and white stuffed bunny from the partially submerged sedan. The water drips from its floppy ears and splashes to the floor. I can actually hear the sound of the splash as it hits the floor. The rabbit terrifies me. The bluish-white lightning burns around the edges of its black eyes. The rabbit begins to pantomime doing this backstroke. That's something you don't see every day. I am dreaming. You think? It's the only thing that makes sense. You only think you're dreaming. I am dreaming. Yes and no, Philip says. From his open mouth that looks very much like a lamprey eel. The stuffed rabbit has shrunken and now appears at the edge of my dead friend's open eye socket. The wet and dirty brown or white stuffed toy situates itself until it has filled the entire eye socket with its body. It casually turns its head in my direction, and the words spill from its small mouth. Any number divided by 0 equals infinity. Division by 0 is not allowed. An infinite amount of nothing is equal to or greater than an infinite amount of something. I scream until my eyes open, or maybe I am closing them. All right,
Wow.
That's it.
Awesome.
Wow.
That was so intense.
Well, thank you very much.
So,
Wow.
Thank you very much.
Wow. Yeah.
Hopefully I wasn't breathing too heavy while I was reading it.
No, you read
did a
that.
great
You read
job.
that beautifully. You read that beautifully. Yeah.
Yeah, and we are.
And you really thoroughly enjoyed that.
Yes,
Well,
we are
thank you
just
very
about
much.
out of. Yeah, we're just about out of time, but I want to thank you so much for coming on the show. And will you come back?
Of course I'll come back. Just give me the word and I'll be here.
Yeah, thank you.
Awesome.
Thank you for joining us from Alaska, all the way from Alaska. That's nice of you to spend some time with us. Yeah, and thank you for being part of the show, sir.
It was
Thank
very cool
you.
to be in
I'll
the panic
stalking
room.
You.
Okay. Yeah, time. Xtina, you got a few name checks for us.
Okay. Check out Jaded Books Publishing's website to learn more about their authors and upcoming releases at www.jadedbookspublishing.com. And let's see, don't forget to follow the Panic Room Radio Show on social media. Our Facebook page is unofficial, The Panic Room Radio Show, Twitter at Panic Room Radio, our YouTube channel, The New Panic Room Radio Show, and come visit our website, www.panicroomradio.com.
Okay, cool. And I think that's pretty much it. So just good night from Xtina and from me, JamesLongmore.com, if you're interested. And we will see you next week.
Well, I know where I'm gonna go. I'm gonna pick my baby up and take her to the picture show. Everybody in the neighborhood is dressing up to be there too. And we're gonna have a ball just like we always do. Saturday night at the movies, who cares what picture you see? When you're hugging with your baby, let's roll in the balcony. Well, there's Technicolor and the CinemaScope, a cast out of Hollywood, and the popcorn from the candy stand makes it all seem twice as good. There's always lots of pretty girls with figures they don't try to hide, but they never can compare to the girl sitting by my side. Saturday night at the movies, who cares what picture you see? When you're with your baby, let's roll in the balcony.
Napa know-how.
A Napa guy knows the good thing about an old truck is you can treat it like an old truck, meaning however you want. Because the paint job looks best covered in mud. Dents build character, and unpaved roads are unscientifically proven to be 70% more fun. And with over 400,000 parts and a little Napa know-how, you can keep that thing running longer, stronger. Because it's not old, it's broken in. That's Napa know-how.
Napa know-how.